Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the Tool Belt, episode 222. We have another amazing guest with us today. Stay tuned. We will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Packer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Packer.
Some days I have to wear 15 hats. Some days I only get to wear one, but that's great. But then I find myself wanting to do more and help more and inspire other people to want to do the same thing. And we're back. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 222 of Behind the Tool Belt. We were back in the great state of Pennsylvania, just recently ascended or descended, one of the two, from Dallas, Fort Worth. No, just Dallas this time. Sorry, I get to Texas. We've been to just about every city in Texas there, but we were definitely in Dallas. When we got to Dallas, I was like, "Are we in Baltimore?" At the airport there, was getting confused there because we were flying around and actually got to spend a day and a half with my friend William in Utah prior to us going to Dallas. We attended the RoofCon Road. On the road, what is it? Road to RoofCon. Road to RoofCon with my friend William and Diego and Erica and the whole crew from RoofCon Revolt and all those guys. So William, my friend William Stewart with RoofCon Revolt, probably wearing many hats over there. How the hell are you, buddy?
Yeah, man, I wear a lot of hats. So I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm fantastic, man. I was gonna, what's funny is. So I think it was 2 weeks ago. I asked Vic a really stupid question. I said to him, I was like, Vic, when is this not going to be so uncomfortable? And he looked at me and he threw one back at me that I've used on him before. And he said, never. And so that meant suck it up, buttercup. And, if I had to choose a week that we weren't going to do the podcast, and by no means not because of you being on the show, but just of being tired, fatigued, worn out from being on the road, this would have been definitely one of the weeks. But I think the difference between success and unsuccessful is that you do things, especially when you don't want to do them. And I feel like that's why this podcast has been as successful, is because of the consistency. We haven't missed a Wednesday, and I sure as hell wasn't going to miss it for William Stewart. So that's how the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. That's funny. We actually just had a sales meeting yesterday where we were talking about, what is your ideal work environment? Like, how do you want to feel every day when you go to work? And everybody says, oh, stress-free, happy, the typical like positive things. I was just like, well, I like stress. I want to be stressed every day at work because that means I'm getting stuff done and I'm being productive and I'm growing.
Mm-hmm. For sure. If it was comfortable, there would be no success there. Success doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It definitely happens outside the comfort zone. And why I was feeling, I guess, uncomfortable at that time was there was a lot going on. The last week and a half, I was asked to be like a speaker on Eric O's culture bi-weekly call. So he had asked me to come in and that stuff still gets me nervous because I want to make sure I articulate a message to those, that are listening and that I can educate them and make them feel inspired and aspire them to do great things. Right. And then somewhere in the mix, Diego reached out to me and asked me to come out to Utah and speak with you guys out there. So I was like, oh shit. And then we had Mike Claudio on the show last week, which was the day before setup. So I knew we were going to have to set up a Smash Lab quick to, broadcast live from somewhere down there once we got to Dallas. And then I had a couple of speaking engagements while we were down there. I was on a panel of leaders on the topic of leadership. And then I got to MC a marketing panel down there. So it was like all of these uncomfortable things. That's like, how do you really prepare for that? You know what I mean? Kind of like we were talking about before the show here. It was like, we weren't really prepared, for it. I mean, I guess we could have gotten prepared, but this is what we do. We're professionals, right? We coach, we train, we mentor, we inspire people, and that there's not much to prepare for that other than from our past, experiences, the things that we've gone through, right? Is what our preparation is whether we knew it or not, we've been preparing for this moment, for this opportunity to, get on a podcast and articulate hopefully a message that other people can resonate with, and that they feel aspire to go out and make an impact on other people's lives. Right. I guess that's, if I had to sum it up. So our past experiences have prepared us for this. So that was our readiness.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. I mean, that's how it always is. I feel like if growing and preparing are two different things. If you try to prepare for something, it can almost come across as fake, like I'm trying to make you think I'm somebody that I'm not actually day to day. But if you're growing, it's just who you are. Then you can just kind of hop on anything, whenever. And that's who you are.
I love that. So William, let's get into a little bit of your background. So leading up to, the roofing industry, have you always been in the roofing industry? Have you been in sales? Like, give us probably the past 5 years of your career that led you to where you're at now.
Okay. So, well, really, I guess if you look at it that way, my career's probably only been 5 years, to be honest. 5 years ago, I was 19. So I was playing Division I football at Coastal Carolina 5 years ago. I mean, I grew up in the roofing industry, construction, all that, here in Myrtle Beach. My dad's a roofing contractor, but he's a general contractor as well. My granddad, he was one of the biggest contractors in Myrtle Beach, back when like Hugo came through, owned one of the supply yards, all that stuff. So I grew up in the industry, but it was, I guess, coming out of college and football and stuff, I thought athletics and, like the health science field was what I wanted to do. That kind of changed. I did physical therapy for a little bit, but I found out doctors don't make what you think they make, right? So I ended up just kind of helping my dad out, got into sales, working, I started, banging hammers and nails and stuff and shoveling dirt, doing all the grunt work as a kid. But then after college and stuff, got into more I don't want to say like ownership, but like owner, son, that kind of role that you play where you don't make all the decisions, but you make a lot of decisions, but you also still do the sales and everything like that. And I did that for a while to help, him grow his business a little bit. Eventually I got to a point where I was getting kind of frustrated. I want a little bit more. So while I was helping him, I actually started a landscaping company, just to kind of be my own entrepreneurial route and kind of learn more of an owner aspect of stuff. So I had a landscape company for a few years. Actually just recently sold that. And, when I came on the RoofCon team, I kind of had it in the background a little bit, doing some odd end stuff. But once I got into RoofCon and Revolt, kind of put that on the side and got rid of that. But I guess it all started, my dad sent me, Erica, and another employee to RoofCon through 2022. And we just came to RoofCon, had a great experience. I think I almost got tackled by Tim Tebow, security guard. That's a funny story in itself. Just because I had a prior connection to him through coastal football. But had an amazing experience. And then a job opportunity opened up for Erica later down the road. And Hunter flew me and Erica out to Dallas to IRE, where we met him and Marcus for the first time. And one thing led to another, and I became part of the team.
I love that. I love that story because I think I may have met you at IRE. I know where we met the first time was in Austin.
Yeah, walking into the convention center behind Hunter and stuff. That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah. So I remember that moment with you, I guess. And then where I think we actually had a pretty significant conversation was in Austin. Mm-hmm. I think we're in Austin at a Revolt retreat. Got to talk to you a little bit more there. And got to pick your brain a little bit about like where you came from a little bit. Cause, I don't think I remembered. I don't know if that was before or after IRE, but I remember I was actually still part of the Revolt team at that point. I mean, I still help out Revolt now, but I definitely think I was still part of the Revolt team of that. Yeah. I've grown a lot, definitely. I was kind of, in meeting all these guys and stuff, especially being kind of Hunter's guest, I guess, more or less, even though I was employee friend. I actually refused to work for Hunter for a while. I was just like, I didn't want to, cross that path working with my wife and stuff in the same thing, just to kind of butt heads and stuff. But no, it was a great thing. But now I was kind of like, I guess, shy and kind of to myself. So I didn't talk to all you guys as much as I wish I would have taken advantage of. But
no, definitely glad to met all y'all and be here.
Yeah, hindsight's always 2020, but you're here now, and that's really all that matters. So let's go back to your football, your stint in football there in college. Would you say that traveling and working or playing on a team atmosphere like that, do you think that you've been able to apply the things that your coach or your team had instilled in you back then? Do you apply any of that into your leadership role today?
Oh, 100%. I think I probably had it a lot better than probably 90% of the country, if I had to say it that way. I had a short stint. I graduated a year early from college because I wanted to go for engineering originally, and they told me it was going to be 3 years at Coastal, 2 years at Clemson. So in my mind, that's 5 years for a 4-year degree. That doesn't really make sense. So instead, I swapped majors, did health sciences and stuff. And so I graduated a year early just from taking extra credits. I did that because I wanted to do 3 years of Coastal, maybe 2 years SEC somewhere, maybe Carolina, Georgia, whatever. That didn't end up happening. But while I was at Coastal, not only did I play D1 football, but my head coach at the time when I came onto it was Joe Moglia. I don't know have you ever heard that name?
I don't think so.
So he started out, and I'm pretty sure he started his career out. He coached football. I think he was like the youngest high school coach in Delaware history or something. Then he got into finances. That was his whole degree. He worked at Merrill Lynch for a little while, but I know he ended up at TD Ameritrade, and he was the CEO there for like 20 some years. He took them from, I don't know, they ended up making his client assets there something like 280 million and grew it to some trillion, like in the trillions or something, like grew TD Ameritrade to what it is today, basically. Retired, and then he came to Coastal to coach football, where he, grew our program tremendously. But the fact that he was my head coach, but he was also like, this Fortune 500, CEO that just happened to coach football, I got to pick his brain throughout my entire year there, and he applied a lot of the stuff that he did while he was at TD Ameritrade to his football program and stuff like that. Like one of the things was he's got a patented slogan called BAM, right? BAM stands for be a man. And it's got this whole, list of morals that you got to, if you want to work in the company, you got to do this, live by these standards. And everybody keeps each other accountable to stay with those standards and stuff. But I definitely, a lot of the stuff that I learned from him, not just through the sports aspect, but business aspect that I just happened to learn from knowing him, has been amazing.
Right. Now, give us a situation where you've had to apply some of these principles.
Well, on top of football, I've had a lot of opportunities, I guess, in general. So I'm also an Eagle Scout, which so Hunter is also, Diego actually is too, and there's a few other things. But I hold probably the leadership I learned in Scouts more than college or anything, except for football. Football obviously definitely helped me out, but you just learn to where in situations where the younger guys coming up, no matter where you are, if you've been at a company a little bit longer, instead of thinking you're, high and mighty and stuff, you'll actually grow the team better by, saying like, okay, how do we help this guy figure it out? How do we include them and help them learn? Don't just think, okay, they're behind us, let me keep moving forward and they'll follow me. You got to reach that hand back and, show them the ropes to get where they need to go. Because if you help them grow, you'll kind of grow. Also, I guess, probably my time in coaching, I helped my dad coach softball. He's got at one point had 5, nonprofit softball teams where, some of the local, well, not even local, probably all over South Carolina, he had girls coming that couldn't necessarily, some of them could, but couldn't necessarily afford to play travel softball and stuff outside of the school sports. And his roofing company would actually sponsor them and get all these girls from across the state to play on these different teams and travel that way and stuff. I helped him do that for a while. So that was cool getting to kind of lead, those girls and stuff. Some of the different football camps that I've hosted, in the Myrtle Beach area. But really, I guess most of it that I applied, though, has just been, trying to apply it to me and grow myself so that I can, find my own way, starting a family and everything, try to, connect with you guys and make sure I do what I'm supposed to stay on track.
No, I love that. Let's talk a little more. I like how you talked about when you were talking about the time you were in the Eagle Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where what I heard you say is basically no man, no woman left behind. Now, granted, I know there's probably only young men in the Eagle Scouts, but I needed to throw women in there too, because I was just thinking about how we can apply that to our life skills, whether it be at home with our families or at work with those around us. Right. And that's actually one of our core values, touches on not, no man left behind. Right. Whether it be homeowners, whether it be predominantly our coworkers and our family and stuff like that. So let's dig into that a little deeper. Like, what does that actually mean when you say that? Like, it's your obligation, your responsibility to go back to the back of the line and help that person achieve, getting further up in that line. Like, what does that mean exactly? What does that entail at times?
Well, I think to sum it up, I think it's Simon Sinek's book, Leaders Eat Last, right? So, I mean, that's the best way to say it is, you got to make sure your team and everybody that's underneath you and that you're responsible for is taken care of before yourself. And that, that applies to, sports team aspect. It doesn't matter if you're the quarterback, the coach, or whatever, those who you're responsible for, you have to make sure they have the tools they need. They're put in a position where they can succeed first. And inherently that'll happen to you too, whether that's your family too, if you're the husband, you're the breadwinner, you're the one that has to, bring in ends meet, each person in the family or team or whatever has their role. The kids come first, then your wife. And then once everybody's taken care of, then you can take care of yourself and worry about other stuff. But I think that applies to, sports teams, business, marriage, family, anything. That's just, you apply that aspect where you make sure everybody that you're responsible for is taken care of. Then, everything will fall in line when it's time, your turn to, reap the benefit.
Yeah, no. And I like that. I think I just had a conversation about this yesterday with somebody I was on a call with. And I had actually brought up Simon Sinek, and one of our roles or what is, our role as a father or a leader or whatever, wherever it applies in both personal and professional, is that we're here to provide safety, and security, right? Like, and I know one of the biggest things that I pride myself in is creating a safe, secure atmosphere, like where everybody knows when they show up here that door is going to be open. They know every Friday that ACH is in the bank account, but it also goes much deeper than that, right? Like, when things are falling behind, jumping in the trenches with your team and helping them pick up the pace, or helping them figure things out and not being afraid to get my hands dirty, right? Like during COVID, things got real weird here in the state of Pennsylvania, and some people chose to stay home. But at that moment, that was another reminder of me of why I continue to drive a pickup truck with a ladder on it, because I was running 7 appointments a day, 7 days a week, ended up closing about $1 million in business in just the amount of 90 days, just to make sure, we could make ends meet, not for us, not for my family necessarily, because I knew we were going to be okay, but it was for the rest of the team that I needed to make sure, because we elected to just basically pay everybody, right, if they chose to kind of stay on board with us at that time. So I needed to make sure that everybody ate, and that meant no matter what it took. There were certain processes and procedures that I had to relearn that I had walked away from 5 years ago, right? But that I had to re-educate myself on some of the new systems, some of the new processes, and even create and develop new ones along the way, because a lot of people were working remotely at that time. But I knew what I had to do is that I had to show up, suit up, show up, and did whatever it takes. And that's kind of why I posted it yesterday, because I was reminded of that once again, that we're here to do whatever it takes, no man or woman left behind. Now, of course, those that may take advantage of that, or those that may be incompetent, or whatever the case might be, right? Either they're going to level up or they're going to get pushed out within the organization. We can't necessarily do that at home with our children or our wife, but the moral of the story is that we have to know what we signed up for. And that means, unfortunately, we may end up eating the crumbs that are left in the bottom of the bag, the bread bag, because everyone else got to eat, right? But it is our responsibility, as your coach had stated, the BAM theory, be a man, right? Mm-hmm. Step up, suit up, show up, even especially when I don't want to, or I don't feel like it. But that's where, I feel better about myself because I did show up on the day that I didn't feel like showing up. So when we get off this podcast, I'm going to feel better and know that I did the right thing because, I invited you to come on the show. And what would that have looked like if I would have said, hey, William, guess what? We're going to postpone this episode. I didn't want to. There's a lot going on. I'm playing catch up this week from being in Dallas. I was away from my family for a good solid 7 days, and I could have made up. I don't have that luxury. Somebody was talking about the luxuries that we have, right? And luxuries as in like excuses, right? I don't get that luxury. I don't allow that to become a luxury. Excuses and procrastination and all these luxuries that we have as human beings, especially in America today. Tim Grover was saying that at When the Storm, like we don't get these. I mean, we have them, but unfortunately, I'm not going to put myself in that category where I don't get the luxuries of making excuses or even saying, hey, that's not my job, right? Like that's not the mentality that we have around here. It is my job. Some days I have to wear 15 hats. Some days I only get to wear one, but that's great. But then I find myself wanting to do more and help more and inspire other people to want to do the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, and it always goes back to one thing. Reminds me that my coach always ended it too. Is like after all the things behind the BAM, he would always tell us, now these aren't rules. We don't have rules, but we have one standard, and that this is the standard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Plus, too, you want to gain respect for your team, those that are working around you, right? That you want them to be able to or want to eat a bullet for you. You know what I mean? I can't even count on both hands and feet the people that I would eat a bullet for here, friends, family, work associates, teammates, co-leaders, right? And I feel like they would do the same for me as well. And it's like that's the culture that we're trying to build no matter what it takes. If the state of Pennsylvania is on lockdown, we're all going to group together. Right. And we're going to make sure that everybody eats. And that means in all nine states at that time, I think we were servicing 7 states. We had subcontractors, we had distribution, we had manufacturing. Like we looked at it as like, not just like on a regional level, but like a national level. Like it is our moral obligation to stay open when other businesses elected to close down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that was our moral obligation. And that was on a macro level, but more so on a micro level today. It's like, I show up every single day for Vic. I show up every day for Sam up in accounts payable. I show up every day for our team. And of course I show up for my family as well, my immediate family at home. But the good thing is I feel like Jana, Rocket, Mackenzie, the grandbabies, even my son, Jacob, they know that they're going to be okay because dad's okay. Dad woke up one more day. You know what I mean? And when I do that every morning, to change the topic here a little bit, like that's my first win. The second that I open my eyes, that's win number 1 for the day. You know what I mean? And for me to be able to suit up and show up, that I have a certain regiment in the morning. And I thank God right away. I thank him for everything that he's given me, everything that he's taken from me, and everything that he has left me. That's how I usually end my prayers. And then I go, I put my feet on the floor. I let the dogs out. I come back in. I read two books every single morning. One's a daily, actually both of them are daily devotional books. And that helps me put the armor on. I don't look at Facebook. I don't check emails. I don't really look at my text messages. Sometimes I can't help it when I get the notification. But when I get to the office, that's when I prepared myself prior to entering into the office so then I can suit up and show up and perform at the level that I know that I need to perform at today.
I like that. Yeah. I feel the same way too, especially, a lot of stuff is, the last 5 years, I could say definitely have been a fast 5 years too, for sure. Going, from having my first son to having the second one. Now I got 2 boys. So every morning, your priorities and how they change and your perspective on stuff, especially when you have kids, just completely changes in a good way too. But yeah, just how I've seen stuff and what you're grateful for, just they come first. And then I'm just like, I wake up and actually reminds me of a thing. When I was a kid, my dad used to always play like E.T., Zig Ziglar, all this stuff in the car. And I remember riding home from like baseball games at like 7 years old, just hearing this stuff, looking at the, old school Dodge radio. I forgot, I was like, back before there were screens or anything, just hearing this and wondering. But Zig Ziglar used to always say, everybody in passing just kind of does stuff and doesn't think about it like, oh, how you doing? Good. How are you doing? Like, good. And you move on from it. It's like there was no thought put behind, oh, I'm good. But if you stop and you say something like, oh, I'm great, but I'm getting even better, like put some thought and change it up, it'll stop people in their tracks sometimes. Like, oh, that guy said he was great. He's not just good, to think about it. But I you think about this kind of stuff like, oh, my kids, when I wake up and letting the dogs out, the little things to be grateful for that we have that a lot of people don't, even if they're stressful things like, every morning I wake 6:30, 7 o'clock, it's usually to a baby crying right now. But I'm grateful for that because that means, it's another day we get to, do stuff and live how we want to,
Yeah. Yeah. What's cool about that is you don't have to do it. You actually get to do that today.
Yep,
And that's what's cool. If you can change your mindset to that, right? Like traveling on the road, like my coach, Tony Watley, told me that one day. He's like, look, listen, dude, because I was probably whining about something. And he was like, you don't have to do this, bro. You get to do this. Like, that's actually bonus. Someone's asking you to go out to Utah, and it wasn't this circumstances, but it was something different a while ago. He snapped me right back into reality real quick. It was like, yo, bro, like they're asking you to go out there. And this, first and foremost, this has nothing to do with you. Right. And that's the catch-22 when it comes to leadership. Like none of this has anything to do with me. This is about every single other person. If this is what I choose, or I elected to sign up for this leadership position that I'm in today, I have to remove myself from the equation, because now this is about everybody else. Do they have, food on their table? Is there enough leads coming in? Is there, whatever the case might be, whatever that is, it is my job but the cool thing about that is to be able to surround yourself around people, at some point in time, and I kind of chuckle with this. That, what's cool is that I don't have to make all the decisions today. I ask my team, what do you think about this? Or you decide. That's probably two of the most powerful words. I heard Craig Groeschel say that on a podcast. I don't know how long ago that was, but he said two of the most powerful words that you could, ever say to someone on your team is that you decide. And that's where that sense of empowerment, that sense of ownership comes in. Into play, where now they have ownership, and it's like, oh man, he's going to trust me to make this decision. Right. And then not take it away from them. That's probably the hard part about leadership is like, okay, it's easy to say to delegate, once I delegate something to somebody, but then I have to make sure that I don't go storming right back into the room and yank it from them or critique how they did it, because just because they did it a different way doesn't necessarily mean it isn't going to work. And if I can learn to pull the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth, I might actually be able to learn something from them. Mm-hmm. Right. Because my mission was to hire smart people. Right. So now I need to allow smart people to do smart stuff. Right. So I can't take that authority or that ownership away from them. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years. And I'm not by no means perfect at that. I still have bad days. I still behave poorly. I still make mistakes, but that's where empathy has to come into play. So when they make mistakes, I have to empathize with that, because, through those mistakes, trials and errors, ebbs and flows, that's where I gained my experience. Right. And without our team making mistakes, I hope they don't, but they're gonna, and I have to become calloused to that, right? That they're going to make mistakes, and hopefully it's not too costly, which usually isn't. And usually it's never as bad as we think it is. We tend to make it worse, right? Being in a leadership position, like we'll blow it out of proportion or whatever the case might be. But without those mistakes, they can't gain the knowledge or the experience that I had the luxury of gaining 15, 20 years ago. Right. And keeping my mouth shut. Even if I see them traveling down the wrong path, I have to keep my mouth shut and let them travel down that path. But I'm not holding my breath that they're going to fail. I'm actually curious to see if it's going to work. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is another way that I didn't know about. So let's see how this unfolds. You know what I mean?
I think I'm like kind of tiptoeing myself, at the point I'm at in my career, I feel like it's advancing really quickly, but there's a lot more to come. I just don't know what it is, but you got to find that mark on the throttle, where it's like, you don't want to be too safe on it where you're not growing, but you don't want to be too far back on it where you could just throw everything to shit. You got to just push the boundaries just enough to where you learn, but it's manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can create an atmosphere where people aren't going to get in trouble or scolded or reprimanded in some way, right? So they're more freely to think on their own, right? And they know that, okay, I'm willing to take a little gamble on myself here and make a decision, step outside the comfort zone here and make a decision and feel confident and comfortable enough that if this is the wrong decision that I've made, that we're all going to pull together as a team and find the resolution for it. And we're all going to learn from this and gain and grow. Do I keep throwing thumbs up there? So it keeps throwing thumbs up. Sorry about that.
I know. It didn't do it for me, apparently.
I was hoping it was other people doing it, not me, but it must have been me. Of course, now it won't do it because I'm trying it. But yeah, no, that's cool. You mentioned something earlier, man, that's funny because I actually did write this down as a question that I wanted to ask you is, how is it working with your significant other and how do you guys maintain a level of work-life balance?
It's easy and it's hard. At first, so Erica originally, when we went out to Dallas the first time we met, it was because she just took the job with Hunter to work with roofing.com. And there, Hunter kind of picked my brain a little bit about where I sat because I was still sitting with my dad's company, but I was a little bit frustrated there because, one, if we're just talking about working with family in that sense, I butted heads with my dad a lot because obviously he's the owner of the company. He always has been, but I'm, the young buck coming up that learns a lot, is, quivy to these new ways to do stuff. Let's try this. Let's grow. And he's not going to say the old dog, but, the old dog that wants to stick to his old tricks type thing. And so that's why I started my landscape company originally. But sitting in Dallas, I talked with Hunter a lot about, he had some opportunities. He just kind of floated about, oh, we might hire this person. And he found out that I was maybe in the market of a job because I was actually looking to maybe go into the military, which is something I always really wanted to do, but not for the typical reasons most people would, like most people go into the military because they either want to just do that cool G.I. Joe stuff or, they have to, like, that's the last resort. That's just what's going to get them out of the rut of where they are. At least that's how I've heard it from people that I know. But to me, it was more just something that I always kind of wanted to do just for like a patriotic duty, in a sense, I guess, like a way to do some good in the world, even though I know on such a small scale, a lot of people say different stuff about that. But I didn't want to work with the whole, but yeah, thing I'm coming back to around circle is I didn't want to work with her because I was afraid of, butted heads. I wanted her to have her own thing and be happy in her own career type thing. And I'll do my stuff and we can kind of, meet back at home. But he pushed it more and more. And finally we're just like, okay, I'll work with Revolt. You can work with roofing.com. It'll still be completely separate. And that's kind of how it happened at first. We would both work remotely, but it was two separate things. If somebody was interested in Revolt, she'd refer them to me. If somebody wanted roofing.com, I'd give them to her. And it was just kind of like a small network almost of where we could just help each other out, but still be independent. So it wasn't too much crossover. But now that she's moved over to RoofCon full time and I have too, there's definitely been a little bit of benefits and, I guess drags to it. Part of the drag would be like, okay, well now all the leads that it's not just me getting leads. And then if she finds somebody, she refers them to me. We actually have to split everything straight down the middle now if we come across stuff. But the benefit is, the fact that we work remotely and have kids and stuff like that is if I have to go do something, whether that's, boxing, jujitsu, whatever I want to do, gym, something like that. Or if I have to watch the kids, she can take over all my stuff or I can take over her stuff. We can make a call if somebody's got to do something, doctor's appointment, stuff like that. So on top of being remote, us both working in the same, company, it just makes it so flexible, which is a super, super nice benefit, especially, at my age. A lot of people wish for these kind of jobs and opportunities to come open, and we're lucky enough to have one,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, do you guys say to each other, like, okay, after 5 p.m., we don't discuss work? Or
no. I will say, so as far as working together, we work together as far as work goes, we're fantastic. Any issues that we have personally or stuff like that, we do a fantastic job of keeping those, separately completely from work. Like nobody in the company, even if we were having the biggest fight ever, is ever going to know that anything's going on, right? Like we do a fantastic job about that. But as far as, what did you just say? I was just going off on a tangent. I'll make sure
That's okay. I do the same thing all the time. I'm so glad I'm not the only one that has a brain fart during mid-sentence. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing.
No, you're good.
Okay. My question is that, have you guys made like a pact or a rule? It's like, okay,
yeah, that's what it was.
5 p.m. Or weekend Sundays is like our chill time. Like with, that because Jana, and the reason why I'm asking you is because Jana and I had worked together for a long time. And like we would have little things like Tuesday night back in the day. And we just, about a year ago or so, we decided to start doing date night again on Tuesdays. Now she's, became like a stay-at-home mom, and she became like, now she's a stay-at-home grandmother and kind of keeps the house on lockdown, which has become probably more of a full-time, a job and a half for her, like a job with overtime.
Oh yeah.
Taking care of all of us. Like she's the glue that holds this whole thing together. So not to take anything away from a stay-at-home grandmother or mom or whatever, because that is a full-time gig taking care of me on top of all the other kids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I categorized myself in with the kids there. But like, have you guys, or you haven't really gotten to that point yet? You know what I mean? Because
we definitely have a jam-packed schedule, but we don't work traditional hours. Don't tell Diego. But yeah, so I mean, in the morning, I mean, our day works right now. We just got Walker, our 4-year-old, into preschool and karate. So those are his 2 extracurriculars he's doing right now. And it was going to be T-ball too, where I was going to be the coach, but that didn't end up happening because just with the stuff I do and everything else, it was just too much. But we kind of just work when we can. I mean, sales is a thing too. Like, in roofing sales where you're going to homeowners, there's a soft spot where you got to, work on stuff inside the company. There's a time like frame where you should probably meet with the homeowners, and then 5 o'clock comes around. Nobody wants to be bothered at their home. So, you get off at 5 o'clock. With the vendors and stuff, it's been kind of unique where, when people could message you, 6 a.m. if they're on the other side of the country. They could be, 8 p.m. at night. So I have some vendors that I'm close with. I'll be texting the guy, and he'll send me a question at like 1:30 in the morning. I might be at the gym at 1:30 in the morning. I'll respond and I might sell something then. It really just comes on, when you're working with these people, you just feel out who they are and how they are. And if it's more corporate, they might stick to traditional hours. A lot of these smaller companies, especially when you're working with the owner or one of the owners, they don't work like that though. You got to feel them out when they're hot and stuff. You got to jump on it when they're ready to bite. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing at the time. I'll walk out of, if we're out to eat, unless it's an important dinner, if it's just like another, Texas Roadhouse, something like that we're just happen to eat an early dinner. I'll walk out real quick, take a call, sell it real quick, come back in, and then we'll finish our dinner and have a nice dinner. But also the contrary to that would be, since we work any time of the day, 8 o'clock, 9, 10 at night, anything like that, we also have a lot of free time during the day. So if during the day and I don't have anything going on, no meetings or something, we'll go take Walker to, Broadway at the beach or something like that. And he can go ride some rides and do some stuff. And, we make stuff work. It's not a traditional schedule by any means, but we make sure there's time to work and time to, play throughout, just whenever it kind of fits in.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. That seems like definitely a big perk too, working at the same place and kind of the same hours. And I was just sitting there thinking, I don't know how many times I had to get up and walk out of the restaurant, and take a call. And it's and that's one of the bonuses of working together, and she knows, what you're doing. And unfortunately it could be at 8 p.m. at night. So speaking of RoofCon, let's talk a little bit about RoofCon here before we get off here. It seems like we're cruising through here pretty good, man. It's a great conversation so far. So tell us about RoofCon this year, man.
Excited. Last year was a fantastic year. We were coming off a shaky year the year prior, which was actually my first year going, which I thought was fantastic. So I didn't know anything was kind of going up, but Last year was a great year. So coming off that year to this year, we've had a lot of perks as far as being able to set this year up better. We already, I forget the exact percentage, but we have a lot of space already filled that usually takes, half a year to get to. So we're filling up quick this year, have a lot of good vendors and a lot of new vendors too, to change it up. We do have, I can't say who, I think Diego might kill me, but we do have some really cool speakers already lined up. Ticket prices have remained the same this year. The only ticket I think that they added on is a ticket that allows the expo's free again. But if you want the expo and access to the breakout sessions, we added a ticket for that as well. So that's that option also this year. Other than that, though, I mean, it's October 23rd through 25th. We got 2 more shows that are single day events leading up to RoofCon. It's going to be in Dallas and then Cincinnati. Dallas is going to be called Breaking Into Commercial. And then Cincinnati is going to be mastering the insurance process. So those are going to be 2 single day events that we do that are going to be really beneficial to kind of break out to other parts of the country, also get different geographical interest, because I know the last couple of years has been Orlando. So doing Salt Lake, Cincinnati, Dallas and stuff, definitely we'll try to bring in that audience from those other places for sure. And then I think next year we're working on maybe going to Nashville too. So that'll be a change of pace there. But this year it is Orlando again.
I love that. And I like Orange County Convention Center. We know it well because we've been a vendor. I think this will be our 3rd year coming up, 4th. I think we've gone to 4 of them total. I think the first year we went, I don't remember, 4 or 5 years ago, I think was our first RoofCon. We took the team the first 2 years, I think. And then the past 3 years, we've actually set up behind the tool belt. This will be the 3rd year that we set up behind the tool belt. And I know we really look forward to it, especially taking a lot of our team down there with us because of what we gain and get out of it. And to share what I've got to experience with my team like that, because this is kind of where it all, started, when we went down to this, Jana and myself went on like this, this real big self-improvement quick kick, stepped it up to a whole nother level. And then when we went to RoofCon, we saw, it was like Ed Milet, John Maxwell, and the Iron Cowboy and people like that, but not just that, but the conversations that we had with other contractors on the expo floor, and how open and transparent everybody was, because it was so cool. Even if I didn't really necessarily run into anybody that was in our local market. But to just run into contractors from all over the country and be able to have a conversation with them and ask them questions and have them open up so freely to me. And then also vice versa, I'd open up freely to them. Like, yeah, we're in mostly a retail market. And, at that time and, they would, of course, everybody, there's this big debate, retail over insurance work like that. And we dabble with both now. But my first RoofCon, we weren't necessarily, a storm would come through. And I think the insurance companies were a little more laxed up in the north than they are down south. But anyhow, it's been a great experience. And everybody that goes each year comes back, and we kind of have like a little powwow, whether it's on the plane or at the airport or when we get back, of like, what nuggets everybody brought back and how they're going to apply them moving forward into, whether it be their personal or their professional life. And that's what's super cool about RoofCon. Okay, is that it's not just for necessarily business owners. I mean, predominantly it pertains to the roofing industry, but there's so many good other personal development things that you take away from it after you leave there. Like, you're just not the same human being anymore. Like, once you experience that 2 or 3 day event, it's like you just come home a different person.
Oh yeah. And I think I said too about all the, companies are kind of there, like RoofCon definitely. Even like Revolt too, which kind of had some, overlap too, is, meeting guys like, Gary Chapman was super awesome, especially at the couples retreat. And then I think honestly, the most impactful person I've had the opportunity to meet through the companies though was probably, I wouldn't say most impactful, but I'll say most impactful because of what it's led to is the guy Chandler, what's his last name? I can't think of his last name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
.com. Those Chandler that you know what I'm talking about, because I've actually almost finished my book. I just sent it off to a content editor earlier this week to work on it. So I'm actually really excited about that. They get finished up.
Cool. Congratulations on that. So to change gears here a little bit, have I heard rumors of a podcast maybe coming back?
Yeah. Me and Erica, we wanted to really start one just because, I don't know. I think now everybody from like roofing.com, and I'm not saying like famous, but people are starting to know us a little bit more and to kind of maybe help, our careers as well. We want to start some kind of podcast or, to have some kind of outreach, offer some kind of content, something like that to just reach a larger audience. And I think Diego, wearing as many hats as he's wearing, wanted some help out with the Rise Above show as well. So I think he was trying to find out some kind of middle ground where we maybe take over that show a little bit too and start hosting some of the things, especially leading up to RoofCon, to promote some of the vendors and, some other speakers. Yeah.
No, and I love that because you started to touch on a little bit like the personal brand, not necessarily becoming famous, but to help, leveraging a podcast is definitely a good way to galvanize like that personal brand, but not just your personal brand, but the professional brand as well, whether it be the Rise Above show, RoofCon, Revolt, all of those things encompassed, because there's a pretty good umbrella that you guys have over there, like this ecosystem that Hunter and of course all of you guys have created this really, living, breathing organism of a ecosystem that is so inspiring to watch it come to fruition. And if you can help like broadcast, like, hey, we're going to be here, or these speakers are going to be there, or this is what we're working on now, it has become a great platform for Vic and myself and Chris Baker and those who have and still continue to support Behind the Tool Belt, because it didn't start with me. It started with me, Chris Baker, and Shane DeGarry. I just wanted to give those guys a quick plug, but it gives you a platform to, articulate that message or promote whatever it was. And this started out, and people who are on here listening right now have heard this story 100 times, but this started for us to promote a local charitable event in our area up here. And we've just continued to do it and found that, this is a cool way where we can share our experience, strength, and hope with people. And over time, it's created like this personal brand so very unintentionally. But knowing what I know about podcast and personal brand, I had no idea what it was really necessarily 4.5 years ago when we started this. I mean, I knew what personal brand was, but really didn't have any idea or what direction to go in until I started to surround myself around people like you and Hunter and Diego and Erico, and started to educate myself more on the literature that was available to me, reading books and stuff, listening to podcasts and stuff like that. And here we are where we have a podcast, right? And what an awesome platform for anybody doing in any industry to create a podcast. But I'm going to tell you the hardest part about it is staying continuous with it, staying, I can't think of the freaking word.
Consistent.
Yeah. Staying consistent with it, because that's the thing. That's how you gain a following. If you're not consistent with it, okay, like our viewers know what to expect. They know we're going to start at 5 minutes after whatever time we decide. And the one time that we did actually start on time, they gave a shit because they missed first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
But that shows you how powerful consistency is. Right. We intentionally now wait till 5 after 12. We just recently, a couple months ago, switched to 12 o'clock just to jazz things up, to change things up a little bit. Now we have our Wednesday nights back that, this podcast has held us hostage, not just us, but our families too. Wednesday nights we couldn't go out to dinner. Wednesday nights there was a whole lot of things we couldn't do come Wednesday night because, it held us hostage, and it's a sacrifice. If you're going to do it, go all in. You know what I mean? You have to be consistent. And that's just another great example of staying consistent in every aspect, in every facet of your life.
It's funny you say that too, because I'm running the same situation right now where the jiu-jitsu classes I've been doing, they're usually at 6:00 every night.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been having to switch those up for the 12:00 classes, which doesn't always work out. But by doing the 12:00, I'm able to be home for dinner and help out with the kids and stuff at nighttime, especially when the kids are going down. But, when they were always at 6 and I had to miss, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever it was, it started to be a burden to an extent, especially on Erica, and I had to kind of rearrange some of that. But definitely agree right there.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Before we get off here, what is something that you want to leave our listeners or viewers with, a little golden nugget before we get off here?
I'm going to leave it with this, I guess, is just because I heard it earlier today and I agree with it. I think this week and every week, try to do at least 2 kind things for people every week and get consistent in that. I think we do that might make some big changes in the world. But yeah, other than that, I mean, for RoofCon especially, I got a discount code for anybody listening that wants to grab their tickets early. If you want 50% off tickets, you could type in Will50 in the discount code. That's WILL 50. And I'll give you 50% off.
Nice. Now, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the easiest way they can contact you?
Best way to contact me probably be we're busy people, probably be text. My number is 843-467-6025. You can try calling me, leave a voicemail, or if you want to reach out to me via email, that'd be great too. My email is william@roofcon.com.
Awesome. And then is there a website where they would put the code William50?
So if you just go to roofcon.com, it'll take you to the website. Just click the drop down bar to secure my seat, and you'll have your ticket options there to secure your seat. Or if you're a vendor, there'll be a link there to go to the vendor page.
Fantastic. We'll make sure that we get your contact information put in the comments here. And as always, we appreciate our viewers and listeners checking in with us at this lunchtime hour. But don't forget to like, love, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, Google Play, Apple, and Spotify as of now. So you guys have a great day, the rest of your day. William, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It was a blast. You are a fountain of knowledge. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing for our industry. You and Erica over there are crushing it. And I hope to stay in touch with you guys. And you guys have a great afternoon, and thank you for tuning in.